Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Can you give us an indication of what is going on at the moment?
Right now, nothing serious. The area on the west side around West Madison Street is pretty well under control with the National Guard. There were a number of fires along 16th Street before and along Roosevelt Road, which seems to be under control now. The area around 63rd Street, which we had some problems earlier in the evening, has pretty well quieted down now, and there are no fires anymore. Hold on just a moment. What? No, nothing on the damn line. I just had to interrupt. Somebody was screaming to find out if something was going on the expressways, which nothing is.
There's nothing going on any of the expressways?
No, they're all clear. This has been one of the common calls we get. People worried about, if the expressways are open. Mm-hmm. But they've been clear all day.
What suggestion does the Rumor Control Center make in terms of using any of the highways or what not to use?
Well, the control area, of course, that the National Guard is in on the west side is from Lake Street, or Kinsey, actually, south to Cermak, I believe, from Ashland to Cicero. And there's no public transportation through that area at all, and they are suggesting motorists to avoid that. In fact, in many cases, they can't get through. So that seems to be the area that's under the tightest control right now. And of course, the Guard has moved in, and the police have moved in. As far as our latest report went, the looting and breaking in has pretty well been stopped.
So there's an uncertain calmness at this point.
Well, uncertain, yes, to a certain extent, yeah. I'll have to agree with that. But things seem to be quieting down now. It seems to have run out of steam.
Have there been any rumors, I don't want you to repeat anything, but have there been any rumors during the last couple of days that have actually taken root and people acted upon?
No, this is a little different from our operation last year. Last year there was nothing going on in Chicago. And in a lot of cases, we got calls both from white citizens and Negro citizens. The calls from the white citizens seem mostly motivated by fear. What's going to happen here? What's going on here? What's going on there? Many of the calls we got from Negro citizens were tips, overheard conversations about, I heard two men, or I heard a group of kids saying about this. Some of these did pan out, and we were able to head off some trouble. This is a little different situation we've got now, because there things actually are going on here. We did have some very serious problems. We're not getting the same type of tip call. What they are rumors, is such and such an area. I heard there's such and such an area going up. We've gotten calls from just about every suburb around the city, and of course there's nothing going on there, but people are worried. And when something like this happens, it causes unrest, it causes disturbance of the peace of mind, actually, and people get worried. They get panicky, and some of them. So they call us, and we try to tell them what's going on. If we know of an incident that's going on, it's our obligation, of course, to tell them, because we don't want people in the area for two reasons. One is it hampers any type of control operation that's going on, and two, they might get hurt.
You need no help.
No, we appreciate your call, though, and we appreciate all the people who responded to it. Really, with some of the calls we've got, as you can imagine, some of them have been bitter, some of them have been a little obscene, but to see people responding to a call for help shows that, people are responding the right way. A lot of people are.
Well, thank you very much. Your phone number again is?
744-4111.
Call there before you act in panic on any situation at all.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerry.
Bye-bye. 10:45 is the time. Why do so many American mothers go to work? Do they really need the extra money, or is it just an opportunity to get away from the kids to avoid the drudgery of housework? Starting this Sunday in the women's section of Chicago's American, a new series explores the phenomenon of the working mother. Find out the reasons behind the tremendous growth in the number of working mothers with children under 18, from less than 1 out of 10 in 1940 to nearly 4 out of 10 today. Find out why money is always a secondary factor in the decision to forsake the kitchen for the office, and why factors like an unhappy marriage can be very important. And finally, find out what husbands think of their wives working and leaving their children at home. It's all there, including the latest research reports in The Working Mother. Don't miss it, starting this Sunday in Chicago's American. Friday night, we joined in a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man of the ages who belongs to this generation. And tonight, by request, I'd like to repeat it again. There's a new sound through our land today, through the whole world. And the sound has a name. The name of a man, Martin Luther King Jr. Equality is not a gift that is often graciously bestowed, no matter how much in principle people agree to it. It is something to be cherished, to be hard fought for and won. And there are as many ways to win it as there are men on this earth with burdens. But each man has it in him to win a little peace for himself, and sometimes maybe once in a lifetime. There comes a man whose gift is so great, whose unselfishness is so unmistakably God-given, that his voice becomes heard as the voice of many. Martin Luther King Jr. was such a man, and had such a gift. The gift of compassion, and he expressed it with warmth, understanding, and feeling. He called it his dream. Maybe there is no other statement with which to define it. Maybe, I have a dream. A simple phrase just like that is enough to describe all the fears and loneliness and desires of man. But for Martin Luther King Jr., it was more. It was the sound of a woman crying, of a child dreaming of the future, of a poor drought-filled land seeking water, and more than that. It is the sound of his people expressing their faith for tomorrow in the realistic terms of their daily understanding. Martin Luther King was a simple man. He never thought of himself as a warrior, as a knight in shining armor. He just fell in love with humanity and had a dream of a better world for a denied people, and went afar to forge that dream into a reality, to bring into focus and in reach of his people the promise of freedom. Inside that dark world in which prejudice, discrimination, and bias has locked his people, his spirit shone bright and was undimmed, for even in darkness he can see many wonders. It is these wonders that make his legacy to the world. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all God's children. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. And that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the threshold which leads to the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Again and again we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and the Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Continue to work with the faith that honor in suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi, go back to Alabama, go back to South Carolina, go back to Georgia, go back to Louisiana, go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow the situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the people's injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair. WBBM News Radio 78 is attempted to bring you during the course of this program tonight the news as it's happening, meaningful and constructive comments from various civic leaders, members of the clergy, people who are attempting to help. Maybe in our last telephone call we can call down to the Catholic Interracial Council again to find out what we can do to help out down at the Catholic Interracial Council. So we'll make that last telephone call before we sign off for the night to John McDermott of the Catholic Interracial Council. They have been attempting to gather together the needs of the community in a particular spot, and I'm sure they'll be there all night. You heard Father Morton a little bit earlier, members of the NAACP, Al Raby, and others who are attempting again to hold together the community. And I think that is most important at this time. If there are rumors, you just heard the gentleman from Rumor Control Center. You know his phone number. Call him if there is a rumor of any kind, and don't act foolishly and without substantiation of stories that you may possibly hear. There were many, many stories around the city, and around the state for that matter, and around the country that could not be substantiated. Call Rumor Control Center. They have all the news, and all of the action that might be taking place is at their fingertips, so they can once again give you the dope as it really is. Next is Music Till Dawn, of course, and there'll be interruptions during the course of the night to bring you any news. There's a cool calm across the city, rather apprehensive. There are still some fires burning. The National Guard is out. The federal troops have arrived in the city of Chicago.